Hello, everybody. My name is Kimberly Rutliffson, and today I will be showing you my unassigned author, Amy Levy. Let's see if that does anything. There we go. So, Amy Levy was born in Clapham, London on November 10th, 1861. Her parents were Louis and Isabel Levy. She was the second child of seven and born into a Jewish family. Levy has always been interested in literature. Something that I find interesting is that at 13 years old, she wrote a literary criticism of Elizabeth Barrett Browning's feminist work called Aurora Leigh. She also, at 14, wrote her first poem, Ida Gray, a story of woman's sacrifice, and was published in the journal Pelican. Levy had graduated from high school and soon after went to attend Newnham College in Cambridge, but she left before her final year. Amy's first novel, published in 1888, was called The Romance of a Shop. It was about four sisters who experienced the difficulties and some opportunities for women running a business in London during the 1880s. The novel explores themes of female independence and social expectations that women face in that time. The second novel, also published in 1888, was called, well, I'm probably going to butcher this, Reuben Sachs, a Jewish identity. Well, it is about Jewish identity and the oppression of women within the community. The story follows a couple who love each other, but his political ambitions demand money and she is poor, and would be a fairly standard late Victorian novel about the cruelty of marriage market if it were not imbued with a feminist point of view. Levy's third publication, which was one of her bigger ones, was made in 1889. Her novel was Miss Meredith, which explores themes of cross-cultural romance and social class, as well as the changing societal norms within that time. This work tells the story of a young Englishwoman who became a governess for an aristocratic Italian family within Pisa. The young woman falls in love with the family's younger son, who had returned from America with progressive ideas. At first, the parents disapproved, but eventually they accepted. And then here is an overall preview of Amy Levy's work. As you can see, she's written quite a bit, which is pretty impressive because, unfortunately, Amy Levy's life ended at a young age. At 27 years old, she committed suicide right before her 28th birthday. She had suffered with major depression for many years. Many people believe that her mental state worsened due to her romantic relationships, as well as her growing deafness. Oscar Wilde, who had a love for Amy Levy's work, actually wrote an obituary for her in The Woman's World, where he talked about how talented she was as a writer. My first chosen piece from her is called Xantippe. It is a dramatic monologue published in 1881. It reflects on the life of Xantippe. Themes such as feminist critique of classical history, suppressed female intellect, and isolation can be found within this story. The wife of Socrates, who was known at that time for her shrewdness within history by male philosophers, she mourns the loss of her own potential, being denied by the restrictions of her gender. Overall, the poem captures the suffering of a brilliant woman forced to always be silent. Magdalene. This is my second chosen piece. It is a dramatic monologue that gives a voice to a fallen woman. The story recreates the biblical figure of Mary Magdalene within a feminist perspective. Taking place in what may be an asylum, the speaker is a woman who is dying and reflecting on her life and the betrayals that led her to where she is now. Themes of betrayal, societal hypocrisy, and limited options during that time are seen throughout the text. For my literary devices in Xantippe, I chose the literary device juxtaposition for the work. A fragment by Amy Levy. Xanthippe herself is seen as a troublesome wife to Socrates, always nagging. Yet, from her perspective, we get to see her side in life in a more deeper and meaningful way. The device juxtaposition helps the readers to see different perspectives of the character. In one particular scene, Socrates was talking of another woman and threw Xanthippe into a fit, having her yell out, with sense that thrilled response to every touch of nature's, and their task is not complete, that they have sent their half-completed work to bleed and quiver here upon the earth, to bleed and quiver and to weep and weep, to beat its soul against the marble walls of men's cold heart, and at last to sleep. That was on page 894 of the Norton text. And after her speech, she was mocked by those men. I have chosen the literary device imagery for the work of Magdalene by Amy Levy. Amy does a great job when shaping her writing for us to be able to identify Magdalene's isolation and emotional depth. A quote to show this would be the bare, blank room where is no sun, the parcelled hours, the palate hard, the dreary faces here within, the outer woman's cold regard. Page 896. This helps give readers the feelings and emotion that the character is feeling. Room 19 by Doris Lessing. So I find that this story connects well with Xanthippe. While Room 19 is a short story and Xanthippe a poem, they both hold similar themes, heavily focusing on women's identity and intelligence that are often neglected within the patriarchal society of their time. So the first theme, isolation and solitude. Within Room 19, Susan seeks out a hotel room for sanctuary. While Xanthippe is more emotionally isolated. In emotional repression and struggle, Susan suppresses her emotions to lead on a picturesque life, while Xanthippe is fully aware of how her own desires and society's desires conflict. In female selfhood, Susan longs for relief away from the roles she has to play. Xanthippe struggles with her denied intellectual freedom. And my resources were the Norton Anthology of English Literature textbook and a article talking about Amy Levy's young life. So thank you so much for listening, and I can't wait to see what you guys have to say. Bye bye. Oh, let's see how I turn this off actually. No. Stop sharing and end. No, end recording.